All right, people. So I want to talk about the so-called Trump protesters protesting. More like rioting. I'm watching these people. First off, they're walking through the streets. That's not a protest, people. If you want to protest, go in a park, go on the sidewalk. If you're walking through the fucking streets, that's not a protest. That is blocking traffic. So stop it with these. They're not protesters in that aspect. And also, they're destroying property. They're lighting flags on fire. Totally being disrespectful. So they're not fucking protesting, people. All right, so let's stop it with that. More like rioting. And these people are dumb. They are brainwashed by the mainstream media into thinking that Trump is a racist or a sexist or a xenophobe or a misogynist or all these other isms and shit like that. I mean, these people, if you ask them, why do you hate Trump? They will just, again, reiterate the same two sentences. They don't know how, they don't do research for themselves. They are zombies of the mainstream media. And their classic line is, "Oh, Trump said all immigrants are racist and are rapists," which is again totally false. He said that some of the people coming across this country illegally. See, that's another thing that these protesters, that these rioters don't understand. That there's a difference between illegal and legal immigration. So Trump said some illegal immigrants coming across the border are raping people, true, are murdering people, true, and are committing crimes, true. But he also said some are good people, true. But that's racist? Oh, he wants to build a wall. He wants to actually have a border with Mexico, have a secure border. That's racist? Having a secure border is racist, a thing that really all countries strive to have, and all successful countries have a border. That's racist. Excuse me. You hear people going over to the Great Wall of China and calling that racist? No, it's to protect yourself. I mean, this is it's totally ridiculous. I mean, should we call the fence at the White House racist? If people put up barbed wire around their building in a bad neighborhood, should that be called racist? I mean, it's totally ridiculous. Uh, that they call this shit racist and sexist and whatnot, and just the lines that have been drawn to mean things like racist, sexist, xenophobic, misogynistic. I mean, those words are just thrown around so loosely now that it's totally destroyed what it means to actually really be a racist, like the KKK. So these protesters are going out there, and all they could say is "fuck Trump." Trump's a racist. Again, because they are brainwashed by the mainstream media, and I hold them responsible for these lunatics, for these morons going out there, these thugs going out there, and not all of them are thugs. Let me clarify that, but a lot of them are. And again, but really, if you're in the street, if you're protesting, if you're marching in the middle of the road, you're blocking traffic. So you are really committing a crime in that sense. It's not a legitimate protest. And again, what they're protesting against, I don't think they have a clue. I mean, there's some legitimate things you could be against, Trump. I mean, I understand we all have political differences, but to go out there and call him a racist, I mean, it's a totally made up thing, and people don't understand the full context of his statement there. And again, people throw around that word racist so loosely. I mean, they don't actually want to talk about policy. They don't want to get into a debate talking about policy issues. And all they could say is, Trump hates women, Trump hates black people, Trump hates the LGBT. There's been a huge rise in LGBT suicides now, and they want to blame that on Trump. Wrong. The people to blame are the mainstream media, again, perpetrating this fear that Trump is somehow uh, against LGBT people when he is really the most pro LGBT Republican one of the most that I've seen. I mean, he's very, you could argue he's almost a liberal on social issues. So again, that not all the I was watching a video and they're like, "Oh, Mike Pence said this about gay shit or whatever the fuck." Well, it doesn't matter what Mike Pence says because Mike Pence is under Donald Trump, meaning his views are irrelevant. It's all about Donald Trump's viewpoints now. So I don't want to hear about Mike Pence really. Donald Trump is in charge of the ticket, so it's about him, not Mike Pence. So the media has brainwashed these people and into thinking that Trump is somehow again Hitler. I mean, it's ridiculous that to the level some people think he's a racist or a sexist. I mean, people don't understand that they have to do research for themselves. We have to help these people, inform these people, and again, the mainstream media takes things out of context and they try to make it seem Trump's, again, this horrible person. Like I said, okay, if you disagree with him on policy, if you think that, um, for example, I disagree with him on what the fuck is that called? Um, Eminent domain. Okay, if you disagree with him on foreign policy, okay, explain yourselves. You don't have to go out in the middle of the street and yell "fuck Trump." Normal people, explain themselves and have logical debates, and they just don't call people racist and sexist. And then I hear people are have to get therapy for this election, and then they have to take days off of school. I mean, again, liberals, and you see Miley Cyrus actually crying, and people crying, and again rioting, using violence, beating people up because they're Trump supporters, and the media doesn't cover that, do they? Again, there's another deceptive mainstream media tactic. They cover it all the time when Trump supporters are violent. They take one Trump supporter who is violent or racist and they say, hey, look at that. The KKK supports Trump. Look at that guy. He's a white supremacist and he supports Trump. Look at David Duke. People, look at him. Oh, but when a horde of thugs, a horde of retards goes out and starts beating up somebody because they're a Trump supporter, which happened, the media doesn't talk about that, do they? They don't say, "Oh, look at that guy. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that thug." No, they don't, because they want to paint the picture that all Trump supporters are racist and they want to put a racial divide in this country. Well, under President Trump, that's not going to work, and people need to realize how deceptive this mainstream media is. And I mean, but I don't like when people do that on both sides either. Take a person and show them committing violence and say, oh, he's a Bernie Sanders or he's a Hillary Clinton or he's a Donald Trump or he's a Ted Cruz supporter. Look at him. No, because that's just wrong to try to paint the picture that all supporters of one candidate are violent or racist or whatever. So I hate people when people do that on both sides. But I mean, it's just ridiculous the amount of bullshit coming out of the ass of the mainstream media, influencing these protesters, inciting these protesters to commit violence. And no, it's not Trump inciting that's another tactic of the mainstream media. Oh, Trump incites protesters. Oh, incites violence, incites violence. So people aren't responsible for their own actions now. Trump incites violence. I mean, again, and that's totally incorrect when it came out that Hillary Clinton and her campaign were actually behind the inciting of the violence. So another incorrect another time the mainstream media was incorrect. Again, Trump doesn't incite violence. They try to take things and take them out of context. When Trump says he wants to punch a person in the face when they were actually violent at the rally, he's like, "Yeah, I want to punch him in the face and have him go out on a stretcher." That's a normal human reaction to somebody being violent. If somebody goes up and starts punching you or punching your friends, you're going to fight back and you want to beat them up again. Normal human reaction, people. And then they say, oh, Trump incites violence, but when Robert De Niro or Joe Biden says they want to punch Trump and get in fights with him and beat him up, oh that's fine. That's totally fine. Again, just a double standard in the mainstream media, and I am so tired of hearing all this bullshit coming out of, again, the ass of the mainstream media. And they are so discredited. They are always wrong, and people see through their lies and their bullshit, and they're biased. So there you go, people.